Hello, my beautiful people. Just going for a little wander today in Warrandyte, actually. Nice and close to where I'm at the moment. Nice to get out into a bit of nature. But I actually wanted to make a point at the moment of the difference between being awake and aware. And there's a lot of people that are waking up, and that's awesome. But there is no point in waking up if you're not aware. Being awake is that you are consciously awake to what's going on in the government, what's going on with our food, what's going on with chemtrails, all of that stuff, of which I'm going to completely leave alone, because that's actually not a huge interest to me. It exists, yes, to my belief, it exists. However, I want to talk about awareness, because there are a lot of people walking around at the moment that are starting to wake up, and they are awake, for a want of a better term, but their awareness isn't there. And if you cannot understand how your words or your actions may impact another person and or impact the experience that you are having as a human being, how truly aware are you? And I like to think that, being awake is one part. Being awake and aware is quite another. And we can be awake to what's going on around us, and there's a fine line because you sit in judgment then. But what if you created an awareness to go with that? So realistically, you're stifling your own growth simply by being woke and unaware. How do we make ourselves aware? Good question. Being aware means that we must come from a heart-centered place in order to see things as they are. See ourselves, see our actions, see our words, and see other people's words and actions as well. So there is an awareness of the environment that we have around us, not just awake and sort of saying, oh, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can still do all the things, realistically, but how are your actions and how are your words impacting the people around you that mean the most? And what can you do to change that? The other thing is, if you are desiring a certain outcome in a situation, before you speak up, before you create your awareness or your awakeness towards these things, what is your intention behind it? Because if our intention is not heart-centered and it's not coming from a place of, I would like to achieve this, task, mission, communication, and you don't have a pathway for that, then your awareness of how your words and your actions are going to impact other people won't be present. So I ask you to stop for a second and think about your own actions. So not only to be awake to what's going on around you, but to be aware of the impact that you have on other people with your words, with your actions, and with your intentions. It's not difficult. It is something that you have to remain completely mindful about. And mindfulness is where do you sit in space? Where do you sit in a room full of people? Where do you sit when you go into an environment like, a shopping centre or things like that? You can change somebody's day simply by having a really lovely conversation with them. You can change somebody's day by one conversation. And if you're not prepared to come from a heart-centered space, I have to say, probably keep it to yourself without being silly, because you're not aware. You're only aware of your position in that, and your position is your perspective, and everybody has a different perspective. Everybody has a different opinion, and everybody has one. Absolutely, everybody has one. But how is your behavior? How is your actions? How are your words impacting another person? So I say to people, please be awake, obviously. But if you cannot couple that with being aware, awake is nothing more than being woke and being, I don't know, I guess people sort of like an influencer on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. And I detest all of that stuff because there is no authenticity in that. And not having authenticity to back up your awareness means that, again, you are kind of playing a bit of a Pollyanna game, hoping that nobody notices that, you know, what you're speaking about is, you can read it in a book, you can watch a YouTube video, you can watch a reel, you can follow somebody on Instagram and repeat all of their shit. But come back to yourself. We are all responsible for our own behaviors. We are all responsible for our own actions, and we are all responsible for the way that we choose to respond to other people, and also the way that we choose to respond to ourselves when we are sitting in a trigger, when we are sitting in a space of, I don't know what to do, how am I going to respond, what is the outcome that I truly want from this situation, and how am I going to go about it. You can look at that as a form of manipulation, but it's a manipulation of self, because we're so indoctrinated to think a certain way about life. And we're so indoctrinated to pass judgments and to see things as we have been taught to see them and perceive them. But come back to yourself. What is it that you see? What is it that you hear? What is it that you feel? And make that response based on your own things, not a societal view of what we're supposed to do or an expectation. So, yeah, awake versus awake and aware. And that's the big difference for me. And I've noticed a lot of people recently that have the gift of the gab and they can talk about all these things, but are they living a heart-centered life? And for the most part, the answer is no. And not to sound like a twat, but that's the truth. There's so many people out there that are like, I know what's going on, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And yet, you know, they smash their bodies on the weekend with alcohol, or they have the notion of like one drink doesn't hurt, blah, 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 blah. Not saying that you can't drink. I am a massive advocate for not drinking. I'm a massive advocate for not taking any pharmaceuticals, let alone drugs and all that jazz as well. But I just, there's just so much of it out there at the moment. Show me the fucking real people. Show me the people that have done the fucking work. Show me the people that have sat with themselves, that have sat with their shit, that have sat and cried and sat and emptied every part of themselves out and created an awareness around them of the story that they're trying to let go of. Because you cannot heal if you are still sitting in story mode. You have to make these changes on the inside. And once you make the changes on the inside, it is not difficult to project that outwards. And when you project that outwards, you'll be surprised how much stuff actually comes back into you. So gratitude is obviously a big one as well. Gratitude is huge. But also being aware of the fact that, if you put something out there into the universe, I want more money or something like that. That's good. We all want more of that, because that little piece of paper with a number in the corner is apparently super important. But sorry, there was just a group of people. What is it that we are here to do? What is our impact, not only for ourselves, but for our families? And what is our intention behind that behaviour? So be awake, be aware, not just one or the other. Love you all.